5/21, 5:30 p.m. And I'd like to ask the mayor to lead us in an invocation of Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Lord, thank you once again for the wonderful city that we live in. This week we have the honor of celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. We ask that the citizens, we follow his lead and lead a joyous life where we all get along together. We ask that you watch over everyone through the season and move us into a prosperous new year. We ask that all we do in your name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Kathy, if you would call the roll, please.
Mayor Shook.
Here.
Bishop.
Here.
Carlisle.
Here.
Detman.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
Lawrence.
Here. Okay, I'd like to announce business from the audience procedure. If you have any business that is not on the agenda and you would like to speak in front of council, if you will see Miss Kathy Haley, she will give you a form to fill out, and at the appropriate time we'll have listen to what you have to say. Thank you. Mayor's report.
Couple things. The circle, lights on the circle, have been going good. It's been snowing there for the last 2 weeks. So and I think that tonight and tomorrow night is the last 2 nights of the snowfall, but they've done a good job. It's pretty cool to see that the kids are loving it. Also, Channel 28 came back for a second time within a month and a half, and I think the reason, when they were here, we kind of encouraged them to come back to do the circle, the lights and that stuff, and they came back, and one of the reasons was everybody was so nice that they wanted to come back to see me. So,
Wow. Nice.
So kudos to CRA for arranging all that, and to Hannah, she's done a good job. So thanks, Christy, and if you don't mind passing that on to Hannah also, and Nellie. We have the New Year's Eve event coming up. Tommy Brandt and his son putting that on coming up next week. So if you're older in town and want a family friendly, it's a good little event. So they had that. We had kudos to Ada McGowan. She put together a little Christmas event for a lot of the citizens there, and giving away over 35 bikes. Was that what it was, Ada? Over 50. I'm sorry. So,
Wow.
but I didn't even know you were sitting there. So thanks for being here and correcting me. But she did a good job, and she's going to work a little harder this week so she can try to get all the kids' bikes next year. So if you all have any change in your pockets and want to give it to Ada, she's going to be out hustling, and did a good event. A lot of toys were given away. So thank you for doing that, Ada. And that's really all I had.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Detman.
No report, sir.
Mr. Bishop.
All good.
Mr. Carlisle.
None.
No, sir. Okay. Well, I would like to just say that we had a pretty good turnout for our CRA joint council meeting in regards to the waterfront park. We had a lot of people that showed up, and there was a lot of positive things that came out of that. And so we're looking forward to getting the, I'm going to say, if not final, close to final plan coming up probably in January for that. And we're looking forward to that. So I want to say thank you to the CRA for doing that meeting and for all of their hard work in the regards to the waterfront area. Thank you. Okay. Consent agenda.
Make a motion, we accept the consent agenda as proposed.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. There was one thing that we pulled from that, which was the D, event for Abide 21 days of prayer and fasting. That was pulled. So, in case someone didn't know that, but I'll assume that motion and second
Right.
is consistent with that.
Yeah.
Okay, if anyone would like to speak on anything or have any questions about anything in the consent agenda, anything from the public? Any comments or questions from council members? No? Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Bishop.
Yes.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes. Okay. Okay, we have no old business, so we're going to move on to new business 10A. And Mr. William Barber, 10A is right-of-way permit request to clean and maintain a city right-of-way into Lake Jackson from Eastview Street. Is Mr. Barber here? Okay. All right. Well,
Did he know he was on the agenda?
William Barber.
I sent him an email and
Did he understand that you should be here?
I
Surmised.
can only presume that he knew he was going to have to be here to present that request.
okay, well, how about if we lay that aside and have him come back for a different agenda and address the situation?
Maybe he'll
Why
still
can't
show
we?
up.
Why can't we address it now?
Okay, well, that's
You
an option
have
too.
you have people in the audience for it,
Okay, all right,
so
that would be fine with me too.
yeah.
All right, is there anybody that would like to speak on this? Well, let me just read the background on this. Please find attached a request from William Barber for Lakeview Construction to clean and maintain the right-of-way that extends from Eastview Street into Lake Jackson. City Code Section 21-177 requires issuance of a permit by the City Council for construction, maintenance, or use of public road right-of-way. And basically, this is because he is not adjacent to it. If you are adjacent to a property, then you can maintain that property, but he is not adjacent to it. So, if there is anyone from the public that would like to speak on this, please come up and tell us who you are.
Hi, I live at 3870 Lakeview Drive. I'm the property adjacent to the drainage ditch, and my name is Dorothy DeCausi. I'm going to own this home for a little while longer, and then I'm turning it over to my son. And we're really not too happy about them coming in and cleaning that area. There's no parking there or anything. I'm sure that once it becomes a beach, Mr. Barber won't be the only person that wants to use it. In order to enter the property, they have to come through our easement and across our yard to get there. I'm a little nervous about people being there and then deciding they want to stretch out and come on over. And if they got hurt or something, I'd probably be legally responsible for that. I worry about trash and garbage, and if somebody's going to continue to clean that up, is there going to be some kind of facility, like a restroom or something for them to use? There's really nothing there. It's our property and the neighbor's property and a drainage ditch. So,
So, may I ask a question? To access this right-of-way, you have to cross your yard to
yeah,
get
well,
into
you
it?
have to go through you have to go over the sidewalk, and the entrance over the sidewalk is on my property. And then they have to go across the corner to access the drainage ditch. So, I know Mr. Barber said he wants to walk there, but I'm wondering if everybody wants to walk there. Maybe there might be somebody that lives 4 or 5 miles away that decides they want to drive there. Where are they going to park?
Right.
You know, do they want to come in on the up into
So
my yard?
theoretically, if you're walking on the sidewalk, you can't walk off the sidewalk into the right-of-way.
You can.
You
Yeah,
can.
you can.
Okay, so they don't have to use your driveway or your yard to get into it.
No, but
Okay.
if they drove,
If they drove.
they
But there is
would
no
have to.
parking, so there's no place for them to park except in your
On
property.
my yard, yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you.
My, may I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
My thing is, first of all, I want to say that prior to this looking like it is, her husband kept it clean. He kept everything clean, and he got sick.
Her husband.
Her husband, and he's since passed away. So this is her son, and they intend on cleaning it up. But I think if we allow this, we're going to open a can of worms, because you have one by your property, so that you could have somebody want to come in and do the same thing, or anybody that and she has one on each side of her property. She's got a drainage ditch on both sides.
Right.
So you could possibly have 2 people doing this, and they start coming in, and I think we're opening a can of worms if we okay this. I really do.
Okay.
You know, and so I'm totally against it.
All right, let me, here.
Hello, I'm Jason McGann. As my mom said, I will eventually take over the house. The concerns I have is, as public property, who has access to it, who would have access to it, could anybody want to visit it if it's a clean beach? And then is there a way to control that? There is no parking, there are no restroom facilities. We're about a mile away from Veterans Beach, who has ample parking, a beach, boat ramp, the whole thing. So I just have concerns about people being there, encroaching over onto the property, kind of taking that over. It's a very small drainage ditch. Most of it is concrete block and crushed stone, so it doesn't have a whole lot of access. It's not a very safe place or a good spot to hang out. So I do plan on cleaning up the rest of the property, kind of going through and getting some of those weeds out of there. But yeah, I don't feel comfortable with somebody being in there.
Okay.
So thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from the public?
And
Yeah, come on up and tell us
Okay.
what you think and tell us who you are.
the issue, then, some of the, he's got 3 people on here that is okay with it. Well, the 3 people on there don't even live, that, it doesn't affect them,
Uh-huh.
One does.
Huh?
One does, I guess.
Only on the other side of the ditch, but the other 2 don't, and one of them's in the county.
Uh-huh.
One of the people on this is in the
Yeah.
county, and this man that's wanting to do this is in the county, and our responsibility is to the citizens of Sebring, of our city,
Yeah.
not the county.
Okay, let's continue to hear from the public.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I have one of these that's,
Tell us who you are, please.
I'm Ross Macbeth. I live at 3820 Lakeview Drive, Episcopal Church across the street. We have one between our properties. They have a parking lot that's occasionally used by the public. People don't park on my property, but it's the same situation. There's a drainage ditch there. The city maintains those to the extent that it sees appropriate, so they serve their drainage function, because that's why they were platted there to begin with, because there are streets that lead into them. They are not public parks, they're not public beach facilities, they're drainage ditches. And they don't have the facilities to handle what you have at your public beaches, and that's where folks should be going if they want to go to a public beach, not to these places. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. Further comments?
Yes, sir. I certainly appreciate Mr. Barbour's offer to assist the city in cleaning up right-of-ways, but there are numerous right-of-ways around the lake that are very similar to that. Some are drainage, just as some are others. I think it's the city's responsibility. If we're going to maintain it, that's our responsibility. Just like every individual citizen has a responsibility to take care of their own property. I think we've had this discussion in the past. I know I have to talk with Scott about it, and Bob Hoffman prior to that. So I think when we find an area that does require some maintenance, that would be the city's responsibility. I know Mr. Barbour is a licensed contractor, but then the next guy that comes up, as Leonard said, we could open up that can of worms. Well, does he have a license is he a contractor? Is he just a retired guy that wants to help out, or what? And then there's that responsibility that comes with the liability and all that kind of stuff. So I would vote that no to Mr. Barbour's request and ask the city to go ahead and maintain the right-of-ways on their own.
Okay. Mr. Bishop, anything? Mr. Stewart?
I'm good.
Can I make a motion?
You can.
I make a motion, we deny this request.
I second that.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any further comments from the public? Okay, any further comments from council members? The only thing I would like to add to that is there are a number of these areas. Some of them are more well-kept than others. I know there's one, I think it's at the end of Sandra, that's between 2 houses that somebody takes care of. And the public still has a right to go on them, whether they're maintained or not. So if someone wants to go to the beach there, they can stomp through the weeds and go through the beach there. There's not no trespassing signs on them, and unless we decide to take some kind of action like that, the public still has a right to go on them. The maintenance is a different situation. generally, I think that the city can use all the help they can on maintaining city properties. But this is maybe an exception, and it sounds like there's some objections to this, but I would warn the property owners that are adjacent to it. And there's a few different ones. There's one right at the end of Bayview that someone's maintaining it. And people go down there and have picnics, and I don't know where the people come from. They don't live there. It's right next to the Sebring Hills area that is stated with no trespassing except for the Sebring Hills residents. But the public still has a right to come to these properties, so keep that in mind. So, all right, we have a motion and a second. No further comments, then Kathy, please call for a vote.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Detman,
Well, I thought you said you didn't want this to pass.
No,
Was that a no?
yeah, well, voting yes to the no.
Yes
To
to
deny the request?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure because.
Yeah, we're voting to deny the
Voting yes or
request.
no?
I'm a yes.
Yes, a yes to the no.
I'm a yes. Good.
Yes.
Yes to the no.
Lawrence,
No. No to the no.
no to the.
Yeah. Okay, motion has,
I was gonna
has
maintain it.
passed that Mr. Barber cannot maintain that property. Okay, moving on to 10B, I guess, Mr. Vargas.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Bobby?
I think council probably recalls that this was supposed to be on last month's agenda.
Yep.
And due to a notification problem that sprang up at the last moment, we had to pull it off the agenda. Anyway, having said that, everyone except bank draft customers received 2 notices. So I think we're good on the notice issue this go around. As council may recall, back in August the 3rd, we had a budget workshop, and at that time, council instructed staff to proceed with a 5% rate increase. We have done that. The new rate resolution 2021-22 is part of your packet. This is a 5% across the board increase. We have calculated just kind of just to give you an idea what kind of impact it'll have on the customer. Assuming that you're an inside city customer, using 10,000 gallons of water, the increase would be $2.81. If you're an outside customer, it would be $3.18, assuming the same amount of water was consumed. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Staff ready to ramp it up for January 1st, Bobby? We're getting kind of late in the year.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Spoke to Kim before we came, and she's confident she can
Good
get
deal.
it in there.
I know she can do it.
Okay, any comments from the public? Comments or questions from council? Oh, I'm sorry, come on up and tell us who you are and what you'd like to say. Yes, sir,
Yes.
it is.
My name is Leonard Rowe. Been a resident of Sebring for almost a year and a half. And I moved from Hardy County. I asked the water people to give me a rundown of some particular things, and they did get back to me. And I'm going to read my notes. I'm better at reading than remembering, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Let's see. First thing
Okay, can you speak into the
is
microphone a little bit better so we could maybe hear you?
Did you ask what his name is?
Yes, sir.
Leonard Rowe.
Huh?
Leonard Rowe. Leonard Wyatt Rowe. I go by Wyatt.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Okay.
And first thing is, when I get my bill, it has current read, previous read. And this particular bill says 181 is the current, and the previous read is 181. That means I didn't use any water. The other thing it means, or has no meaning, what is 181? Is it hundreds of gallons, thousands of gallons, tens of gallons? Some people go by the figure of tens of gallons. Now this gentleman must know what that means.
It's hundreds, 100,000. I mean,
So 181 times 100, current read? Let's see, I have a copy of the bill here.
Okay.
Oh, it's under that one. Oh, I'm going to,
That's okay, just take your time.
no. Here we are.
Just saw it, yes, sir, right there.
Current reading, 181.
Yeah, so your usage is right over here, it says 0.
Yeah.
So what you got charges is the base charge for water and sewer.
Well, how much water did I use?
You didn't use, well.
I didn't use any water. I used some water.
No,
I
no,
took
no.
several showers.
Yes,
I take
sir.
one every day.
Yes, sir. We bill per 1,000. So if you used 999 gallons, we would still bill you for 0, because you hadn't got to that 1,000 mark yet.
Okay, so the 181 gets 3 zeros after it,
That's correct.
or depending on the
That's
number.
correct, yes, sir.
So it's 181 1,000.
If you look at the.
So I
meter,
use less than 1,000 gallons that way.
Correct, yes, sir. That's what-
Okay, and then I just did it. Now, if I went 1,001, and then the next one was 182, and it would be 2,001, then I would be charged for
2,000 gallons of water.
which, and that
Be
price is what?
$3. If the council approves this rate increase, it'll be $3.60 per
What is it
1,000.
now?
It's $3.50 right now outside the city.
Outside the city?
It's going up 10 cents per 1,000.
When you say outside the city, are you talking?
I think you're inside. You're in
I'm on right across from the
Highlands
mall.
Mobile Village?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're inside now.
yeah.
Yeah. So
And-
yours would be 260, not 360.
So you service just the city? Do you service zip code 33870? Is that?
Yes, sir.
your zip
We
code?
serve inside and outside. Some outside county residents also have city services.
Okay, but mostly it's all the city you take
All
care
the
of.
city, yes, sir. Yes,
And then
100% of that.
Few. Okay. All right, that's enough for now. Now I know it's times 1,000.
Yes.
Okay. Let me read on here. I have to do it. Oh, I have these copies for you guys. Do you want to pass them on? I got 6 copies. It shows all the efforts I went through, who I contacted, what they responded with, and everything like that. So it's something to look over when you want to, or as I go. Okay, we got the unit. I received my record requests in an email last Thursday, late afternoon, from Office Manager Kathy Haley. Is that you?
Yeah, City Clerk. Yep.
In the request, Part B, I asked, how many gallons is a unit? Oh, she never answered. You never answered.
Oh.
I asked it in my original.
Okay, but when the response was given back to you, because some of that came from our finance department utilities, I did not read all
Oh,
those
okay,
documents. I
okay.
asked you
Understood.
that if you saw anything in it that
So the
had not been
Finance
addressed.
Committee didn't really answer the question then,
Okay,
correct?
but I didn't respond, you didn't respond back to me after that, and you said thank you, so I assumed that your public records request.
No,
had been
no,
met.
no, that's not
Well,
true. I was in my original request, the chapter 119. I asked for what that reading was. And then, the day after I got it, I got the thing on the 15th, I think, and on the 16th or something like that, I emailed directly back, I think it was a Friday. I never heard back again. I asked for the same question, but I never get back, so that's going on anyway.
Please understand that the Public Records Act allows for you to review records. It does not authorize or require city staff to answer questions that you may have or to compile records in a form that doesn't exist.
So,
And I'm
what
not
you're
sure what the
telling
nature,
me.
I'm not sure what the nature of your request was. I'm just making sure that's understood.
Well, let me just understand then. I asked the question, he answered it, but at the time, I asked, what is the reading? Is it times 1,000 or whatever? And I would think that's under chapter 119, wouldn't you think?
No, sir. Asking a question is not part of the Public Records Act, asking to look at a public record that reflects something that is. Now, they can answer those kinds of questions, but just understand that the Public Records Act does not require a governmental employee to actually answer, even one question. It requires them to make documents available for your review.
Well, part of the review is to know what the readings are. If we don't know what the readings are, and it's pretty much a secret when you get your bill. You don't know what it is. It just,
In general, if you ask the water department or any department, we're gonna cooperate with you to the best of our ability.
yeah,
if
that's
you
all I'm
ask the
asking.
question.
That's all I'm asking.
But
and,
it's not a quote-unquote public record, and in as much as that, we want to be helpful to you to help you understand it.
I asked Nate, the administrator.
Uh-huh.
He looked at his bill on his phone. He couldn't answer the question. So apparently it's a secret.
Okay.
And,
Let me get
it
you
has
back
no-
on topic here a little bit, though, because what we're talking about is a rate increase. Is there something
Yes, I
in
know.
particular that you wanted to address about the
But
rate
now I'm
increase?
just getting, what's going on.
Okay.
Last Friday morning, I asked Haley again. Oh, forget that. We just went through that. Like I said, I just asked Nate the same question, and he couldn't answer it.
No, I could.
According
I
to-
could answer it.
Are you
What-
Nate?
I
Yes, he
am.
is. This is Mr.
Why-
Nicklin.
Nately.
His last name is pronounced Natelick.
Oh, his name is Scott.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember talking
Correct.
to you. You remember talking to you?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, your name's not Nate.
So what it didn't say on there was a number. It didn't say gallons. It didn't show gallons.
No, you didn't know what the
But
unit
I
was.
knew that they were 1,000-gallon units.
You didn't say that when we talked. But that's okay. What you knew then and what you know now is okay. According to Wikipedia and Census.gov and many other sources, the population of the city limits of Sebring is 10,729 people. According to Ginny and Haley's Thursday email, City of Sebring Utility Department, the city has an average of 17,587 customers per month. How can the city have 17,587 customers when the population of the city is almost half that? Where do these other 8,000 customers come from? And how does the 17,000 break down into households that are serviced? Is it 9,000? I don't know.
Well, the answer to your question is,
Yep.
like we said before, we serve a lot of customers in the county.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
that total customer count includes city and county residents and businesses. So that's how the number is what it is.
Okay, so you serve Avon Park?
No. We
That's
serve
in the
this-
county.
Yes, but so is the country club, or so is Golf Hammock.
Yeah, it's a little land there, not much water use.
So you'd be surprised how much water is used in those locations.
Yeah.
But that's why the number is what it is, because we serve the county residents in the Sebring area as well.
There's a big difference anyways, the way I look, what it
I
seems.
think over 60% of our customers are in the county.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Again, let me remind you to address the rate increase and not just numbers of customers, or if you can get to the point you're trying to
Well,
get
the
to.
point is, if they have less customers than they're saying they have, then why are they raising the rates? Does that make sense? That question? I mean, whatever as a question, not as an answer.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking it, just to make sense of it.
Well, basically, Mr. Bogus can say, and I think most of the council members here, we review this, we review the expenses of the
Right.
department and what money is actually taken in, and keeping in mind that the city does not operate at a profit, quote unquote, even though some department may or may not within a single department. But, everything is going up these days.
That's why, everything may be going up, but that doesn't mean you have to go up or the water has to go up.
Except
or
the expenses
beer
of the
has to
water is
go
going up, the expense of the water department is going up.
It's,
When was the last time we had a rate increase, Mr. Bogus?
Last year.
I'm sorry?
Last year.
Okay.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
Every year.
well,
Not every year.
Social Security just went up
Well,
5.9%
2 years in a row,
too.
we're
Well-
leaning towards.
What we're trying to do is catch up. we didn't have any increases for years, and
Mhm.
now we're just trying to catch up so it levels out.
Okay, whatever, and I'm trying to, I'm just posing an argument, about the 9,000 versus 17,000 or whatever. That's something for you guys to talk about, not me. I mean, I'm gonna tell you about it, and
Yeah.
it's
Well, we
something you guys
appreciate- we
can talk
appreciate
about.
that.
That's
Thank
all
you.
I'm putting it out there.
Yeah.
When you look up populations, you get different figures all over the place, just to let you know that too, so. But that came from Wikipedia and the census.gov. And then according to zip codes, the population of 33870 is 27,000.
Right.
So we just jumped from 10,000.
Those
So-
are postal zip codes. That's the
But
difference.
then, Mr. Varga?
Yes.
Yeah, and then Mr. Varga is bringing up the county, and that's fair enough to say, And so that could be a part of the discrepancy that I'm seeing here is 27,000 by the zip code
Yeah.
versus the other
But the
one.
water is charged per meters, and whether it's inside the city, a business, an individual household, or
Yep.
outside of the city.
Yep.
They charge specifically, they have a specific number of customers they serve. He just told you what they are. All of the population and stuff is not on the water meters. Some
Yeah.
of it is, some of it isn't.
I'm just
But those numbers
pointing
in
out some
general that
possible
you're citing
discrepancies, that's all.
is
You know,
not
you
as
can- you guys
relevant
will make
as
the
the
call.
actual numbers that we serve.
Yeah, I'm just pointing out some
Yep.
discrepancies that
Okay.
I found.
Well, I think we appreciate
You
that.
guys are, I believe you'll do the right thing. I'm just throwing this out there for consideration, that's
Yeah.
all.
I think we appreciate it, Wayne. Thank you.
Thank you, and I put a lot into it.
You're very welcome.
And, because I'm a concerned citizen, that's
Sure.
all.
Yeah.
Former
Sure.
US Coast Guard, 15 years.
There you go.
According to Haley, there are 15 employees. The
Mm-hmm.
total cost of employee expenses, that includes wage, health insurance, and workman's comp,
Mhm.
is almost $700,000,
Yeah.
or almost $50,000 per employee. This is very lucrative. With that figure in mind, do you think it would be wise to investigate the costs of the utility billing service companies versus the employee costs of those employed to the billing services? So with that said, how many specific employees are assigned to billing, Mr. Vargas?
Okay, now, let me make sure I understand your question. Are you questioning the total number of employees for the utilities department? Because I think that's really what you need to look at, not just the.
Well, I was told when I did my investigation, they responded with 15 employees. That was the information that was gathered.
Well, that's not the department's employees. We have closer, I think, 38 or 40. Because we have employees in the sewer department, collections department, the treatment department, water production, water distribution. Even the IT is part.
What's that say?
Well, it says 35, but I think that's
No.
probably just customer service.
This is for 1 year, this is this year. 50 employees this last year, 15 employees this year. It's on, A1 anyways, if you guys want to look at it. First page, second page. And it says 15. But now you're saying 30 or 40, huh?
Well, yeah, department-wide, it's much, much higher.
Well,
I don't know where the 15 number came from, to be honest with you, but I'd be happy to sit down with you tomorrow, and we can go over the complete budget if you like.
Well, let me think about it.
Okay,
and-
sure.
and
Yeah.
Go from there.
Okay.
So then if the employee number is wrong, then probably what they paid out is the 15 employees, not the 30 or 40, so that figure would probably
Well,
have to be updated as well.
Believe me, my employees aren't rich. So,
Well, they're richer than me, and there's a 29.91% poverty level in Sebring. Did you guys know that?
Yep.
Yes.
According to the information I looked up. Did anybody know that?
Yeah.
You knew there was a poverty level.
Well, I
in
question most everything you're saying, because Wikipedia is not the place to find those. That's, anybody can send stuff to Wikipedia, so it's not legit, it's not legitimate.
Well, they have a policy to fact check things. If they think
The
there's
fact
something
checker.
wrong, they'll take it out, or they'll put a little thing in red telling you, you know, this might be.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I
Well,
mean,
Mr. Rowe, let me suggest that you get together with Mr. Bogus, and if you want to go over the budget and get a better understanding of it, he's just offered to go over it with you a little bit, and then you can see exactly why we feel like we need this rate increase. But questioning each different little aspect of it, I'm going to tell you, we spend hours and hours and hours going over these budgets with the different department heads. And any city councilman up here will tell you that it's not a fun thing, but we do it because we want to make sure that we're giving the taxpayers of our community the best value that we can. But we also have to keep employees. And in order to keep employees, guess what? They want raises. They want to at least keep up with inflation rate. And this is what we come down to, as well as all the expenses, whether it's gasoline or whatever, to run the department. So
well,
I would like
under
to
the
ask you
15
to get together with Mr. Bogus and
under
let
the
him go over the
15
budget a
employee,
little
let me
with you.
just comment on that, and then we'll figure out the Vargas thing. Under employees, that's 15, using the number 15 and the 700,000, that averages almost to $50,000 for each employee. I mean, there's differences lower and
But
differences
those
higher,
numbers
but
that
that's what
you've
it
got
comes to.
are not accurate.
So these people are making pretty good money. They've,
It's a matter of public record. You can see what every employee of the city, county, and state makes if you want to go, and you can see exactly what they make.
well, 500,000 was paying for the employees, and then 175,000 paid for their workman's comp, their health insurance.
Which is required.
That could happen.
Yeah, well, you know, that's what I'm saying. They're quite a bit richer than most of the people in the community.
Well,
And
I'm
they're
not sure I
asking
agree
for a
with that,
pay raise,
but-
you know?
but-
But anyways, if you want me to, I think what you're asking me, maybe I should get together with Mr. Vargas, and then maybe the next meeting, we can talk about what went on. I would hate for you to make a decision, and then I talk to Vargas. It wouldn't be,
Okay.
it wouldn't make sense.
Well, we appreciate your input, and talk to Mr. Bogus, and then it's up to the council members whether we want to make the decision tonight or not.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Well, then, if you make your decision, you know, that's okay. I gave you the information, I tried to talk about it, I showed you my concerns. I do that because, a couple of things. One, I'm a concerned citizen. Two, when I put all that work on it, I learn things after things after things. That's what I do. When I argue something, I learn a lot from just trying to figure it out and stuff. So, but
Well, thank you, sir.
if you do make a decision tonight, then that's your right, and I'll respect that. But if you don't, and we go to another meeting, then maybe I should meet with Mr. Vargas. Otherwise, it would be useless for me. I'm not going to. You make your decision. I'm not going to argue with it. Whatever you make.
Okay.
That's you. That's on you.
Well, thank you.
I'm
Thank
just
you
trying
for
to-
expressing your opinion on our rate increase.
Anybody else?
Anyone else from the public like to speak on the matter? Any other questions or comments from council members? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I'm Andrea Mathis, and I live in the city of Sebring, and I was very concerned.
Could you speak up just a little? It's hard to hear you with the.
I'm Andrea Mathis, and I live in the city of Sebring, and I'm very concerned like he is. I really wish it could have been packed out, because when I looked at my bill, I didn't know anything about the increase until I saw it on my bill. And I was just concerned because with everything going up, a lot of people do get increases on their pay, but sometimes when you work for the state, we don't get an increase, but every I think it was 5 years or 6 years, if you look at the Department of the state of Florida, we got an increase. I think it was 5. We hadn't gotten increased until about 5 years ago. So with everything going up, and I understand everything going up, but being a single person is kind of hard. And I was just concerned. I didn't know if y'all made the decision to it's already approved. I don't know if it's approved or not, but I just want y'all to know I'm very concerned about it. And everybody don't have, you know, the money, and some people don't have companions, and some people is just by themselves. And with the increase, I know they just did it last year, but I was hoping that y'all would think about the other people that don't make as much money as other people. So that's why I'm concerned, because I don't know if this was the first time that it went out on the bill. And sometime it don't go, I don't know if it went in the paper. I don't know if people were really aware of the increase, but, you know, I just thank y'all for listening to me.
Right. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I believe it has been, everyone has been noticed. Again, Mr.
Yes,
Vargas.
this is typically, that's how we notice public, the customers is on the notice on the bill.
Uh-huh.
And I realize some people don't see that, but it's there for that purpose, so.
I think it's kind of important for people to understand that the $2.81 increase, if you're living in the city, is for 10,000 gallons of water.
Right.
$2.81.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people, I'm gonna presume, don't use that much, especially
Correct.
if you're a single-member household, so your rate increase may not go up that much. So,
Sir, I'd like to make a motion if you will allow me to.
sure.
I'd like
Yes.
to make a motion, we approve resolution 2021-22 establishing utility rates effective January 1, 2022 as presented.
Okay. Have a motion?
Second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any further comments from the public? Any further questions or comments from council members? Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Detman,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes. Okay, motion is passed. Okay, 10C, Fireman's Field Water Plant Elevated Water Tank Exterior Recoating, Mr. Vargas again.
Yes, the Fireman's Field tank is something we budgeted this budget year to recoat. The previous years, we've coated the interior of the tank, so the interior was done, I think, 2 years ago. So now it's time to paint the outside. This is a tank that we have to keep. There's just simply no room to build a ground storage tank with high service pumps, so you can't go the route that we've gone with some of the other plans. The kind of the complicating issue here is the logo that's been painted on the tank. It's my understanding that the Firemen's Association paid for it initially, but I think the prices have gone up to a point that I think they were a little bit apprehensive. So it's my understanding as of this moment, they're not willing to fork out the cash to repaint the logo on there, the Fireman's Memorial Field logo with the Sebring Blue Streak emblem. So that is, believe it or not, with the low quote we received from Southern Corrosion, that was a $5,400 option. So if council wants to, we're kind of looking, staff's looking for guidance as to, do we pay for it ourselves, or do we just paint over it and not worry about it?
Okay. All right, council members.
I think we should paint over it and not worry about it.
I agree.
You
Just
know,
paint it.
just paint the thing. You know, we just went over the rate increase, and I know people's concerned about that, but this is one of the things that we have to do. You know, we have to maintain all this stuff, and that's one reason we was looking at rate increase, but I'm not willing to spend $5,400 just to paint Sebring and a logo.
Yes.
You know, I think that's where we have to be frugal with spending our money.
I'm curious if anyone knows that when Fireman had that painted, the logo on their back the last time around, if there was any understanding or agreement that they would do it the first time when we would continue to do it, or that was just a one-time thing. Do we know that?
I personally do not know that.
I
No,
think
sir.
that's,
I think it was just a one-time thing.
You think it was a
The original
one-time
logo
deal?
was $1,200.
How much?
It'd be worth that all day long.
$1,200.
And then.
5Gs
Just,
is
I
not.
mean, they're a non-profit organization, so
Yeah.
for them to put out $5,400 and
Yeah.
then give their money back to the
Right.
community.
Times
so
are
it's
tough right now too, so.
Yeah.
It was a decision that was made.
Yeah, makes sense.
This was the low quote too, that some of them wanted over 7,000 to do it. So,
Oh,
You know,
pricing
it's
was crazy.
a lot more than I expected it to be.
Yeah, okay.
I
Mr.
support
Bishop,
that.
any comments on that, Mr. Bishop?
I've lived here for 38 years, and if somebody asked me what was on that tower, I would have been able to tell them before this meeting. So I was like paint over it.
You don't pay attention, do you?
Same as River, huh?
Okay, any comments from the public in regards to the water tower and Fireman's Field water tower plant elevated water tank exterior recoating? Okay, we'll entertain.
I make a motion, we accept the quote from Southern Corrosion in the amount of $44,000 for exterior recoating of the Fireman's Field water treatment plant elevated storage tank, and provide staff instructions to forget the logo.
Forget the logo. And a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments from the public? Any further comments from council members? I just want to say that, you know, assuming that this motion does pass, that we can always let the firemen know, and if they change their mind that they want to come up with some money, that
Sure.
we would probably be open to that. So,
Sure.
that being said, Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes. And I do want to also say to Mr. Rowe, was it, that this is what we kind of do with these things, and we're trying to save you money. I just want to point that out. And this is one way. We just saved $5,000 to the community by not spending extra money. So maybe you can understand that.
You didn't even get a chance to read what I sent you in your native position. So I respect the decision, but I'm having a little trouble respecting.
Okay, I understand. All right, we're going to go to 10D. It's going to be a public hearing on the proposed ordinance 1468, repealing section 26-151 of the City Code of Ordinances, second reading, and proposed ordinance 1469, amending section 2537 of City Code of Ordinance. Mr. Swain.
Ordinance number 1468 is entitled an ordinance repealing section 26-151 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sebring, providing for conflict and providing for an effective date. And ordinance number 1469 is entitled an ordinance amending and restating section 25-37 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sebring, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, we're in a public hearing, and Mr. Nathlick, will you give us some background, please?
Yes, sir. At your September 7th, 2021 meeting, Council considered a preliminary version of the attached ordinance, which would repeal section 26-151 of the City Code of Ordinances, along with a proposed companion ordinance, which would amend section 25-37, providing for certain structures on the west side of Lake Jackson. Staff recommended and council approved a motion to schedule a workshop to discuss permitting certain structures on the west side of Lake Jackson. The attached proposed ordinance number 1468 and the following proposed ordinance number 1469 are the resulting recommendations from the October 27th, 2021 workshop. The result of the changes is to permit limited non-residential structures on the portions of real property on the west side of Lake Jackson, lying waterward of Lakeview Drive. Ordinance number 1468 and number 1469 were passed on first reading at your December 7th meeting and are on council's agenda for second and final reading.
Okay. All right, the purpose of the public hearing is to receive public input on these ordinances. So if anyone would like to speak and tell us what they think about the public ordinances that we're looking at now, please come forward, state your name, and tell us what you would like to say. Now is your chance. Okay. We have no public comments. Anything from council members or? Oh, here we go, Mr. Macbeth.
Well, I hate to ask, but just a few numbers doesn't really tell me or anyone else what the substance is that's being done, if council wouldn't mind.
Okay. Basically, this is about the structures on the lakeside on the west side of Lake Jackson. So, okay.
Cove area. Well, no, the whole
Up
thing.
until now, there was a prohibition on structures on the lakeside from basically the north side of the cove around to where Lakeview connects with 27. This ordinance will allow for some non-residential structures to be permitted, like gazebos. And as you well know, there are some parcels along in there that have erected gazebos and other sorts of structures. The ordinance prohibits those, and a request was made of the council to relax the rule to allow for things like gazebos, not to allow houses on the lakeside portion of those lots, just some accessory type structures for the use of the lake. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. So this pertains to the land across the street from the houses.
Yes.
For the owners of those properties so that they can have lakefront amenities.
Right. Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah, yes, basically, that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Macbeth, would you like a copy of this, the ordinance?
Well, I would, yes, sir.
There you go.
Might have to build one. My wife keeps telling me we need a gazebo.
You got
Sorry.
no excuse now. Okay, any other comments or questions about the, about these ordinances? Okay, being no other questions or comments from the public, we'll adjourn the public hearing. Any, councilman questions or comments? Okay, request a motion, please.
I make a motion, we approve ordinance 1468 and ordinance 1469 on second and final reading as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further comments from the public? Further comments from council members?
No, sir.
Did we make sure we didn't put sheds in there?
As long as there's no sheds there, I'm okay.
Okay, all right. Kathy, would you call the vote, please?
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna move on to 10E, public hearing proposed landscape variance for parcel S 31 34 29 010 1023 0190. So the purpose of the public hearing, is to receive input on the landscape variance requested to eliminate the required landscape buffer. So we are going to go into let's see, Miss Dana Rydell, I guess, first. Oh, Jennifer, okay.
Hi, good evening. I'm in Dana's place tonight. Jennifer Cotto Salisbury with the Central Florida Regional Planning Council. This is a requested variance. The subject property is located at 610, 618, 622 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and 811 Grand Avenue. And there's a proposed law office for the property. And the side yard setback to the south, there's actually no setback required by the code in C1. And there's an 80-foot strip of land where the applicant is requesting a variance from the landscape code. The rear of their building will face that side yard setback, which faces to the south. But they need all of the space they can get for the development, and they've requested a variance to the required 20-foot landscape buffer. And that is their proposal. I'm not sure if the applicant's here.
I'm Marvin Wolf with Polston Engineering. One comment I did have is that instead of the back of the building being up against that area, it would actually be the side of the building would be to the south. And the back of the building would be to the east. And we will provide a 20-foot setback there, but it was on the south side of the building, which would be the side of the building, not the back of the building.
Okay.
On the Grand Avenue side?
This is, Grand Avenue is the north side, which would be the top of the screen.
Right.
Luther's over here.
Go forward one more, Scott.
Booker on the south.
The site plan.
number 3.
Oh, there we go.
So again, this is the area we're looking at for the variance for the landscaping. The southern side, again, would be the side of the building. We're providing a 20-foot area in the back, which we will landscape because we have enough room for that. We will also have separation between the zoning on this portion down here. It previously, well, this R4 right now for this one last lot we have, but we will also, this is R4 in the next lot. We're providing parking on the southern side here, but again, we're separation to the property line on this side.
Okay, any comments or questions from the public? No comments or questions? Okay, we'll adjourn the public meeting, public hearing, excuse me, adjourn. And councilman's questions or comments?
I went through zoning and they approved it, so I'm with them.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, request a motion.
I move we approve the landscape variance as presented.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. That was your first motion, I believe, wasn't it, Mr. Bishop?
Second one.
No.
Second. Oh, okay. I have a motion and a second. Any further comments from the public? Further comments or questions from council members? Okay, Kathy, call for a vote, please.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Denton,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna go to 10F, public hearing and ordinance. Introduction of ordinance 1481. So we'll start our public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive public input on ordinance which will change the zoning classification of a .70 acre parcel of 610 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Lot 1, Block 398, Washington Heights Addition, from multiple family district R4 to city commercial district C1. Jennifer, again.
Good evening. Once again, Jennifer Cotto Salisbury with the Central Florida Regional Planning Council. This is a rezoning request for the property at 610 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. This is part of a larger tract now. The parcel you see on the screen is actually absorbed into about 0.48 acres. Most of the property, if we can go to the next slide, the future land use on the property is all downtown mixed use. And then going to the next slide, the zoning on this one piece is actually R4 today. The rest of the project site, which is proposed to be a law office, is C1. And so this rezoning would just allow the site to come together under the same zoning of C1 for non-residential development. And if we can just go to that last slide. This shows the property on the property appraiser's website now, so it's all been combined at this point, but that strip of R4 was just proposed to be changed to C1 just to allow consistency for the proposed development.
Okay, thank you. And I have to apologize, I skipped over Mr. Swain's introduction to the ordinance. Please forgive me.
I know everybody's been waiting. Ordinance number 1481 is entitled An Ordinance of the City of Sebring, Florida, changing the zoning classification of a 0.07 acre parcel at 610 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Parent Lot 1, Block 398, Washington Heights Addition, according to the plat thereof as recorded in Plat Book 3, page 127 of the Public Records of Highlands County, Florida. Parent from multiple family district, Parent R4, to commercial district, Parent C1, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Swain. Okay, now's your chance to, if you have something to say, this is what our purpose of our public hearing is to receive input from the public. So if you would please come up and state who you are and what you would like to say about the ordinance, that would be great. Nothing from the public. Okay, in that case, we'll adjourn our public hearing. And any councilman questions or comments? Anything from the public? Okay, request a motion.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 1481 on first reading, scheduled second and final reading for January 4, 2022.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further comments from the public? Further comments or questions from council members? Kathy, call the roll, please.
Bishop.
Yes.
Carr.
Yes.
Pittman.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Lorenz.
Yes. Okay, moving right along
Another public
to
hearing.
10G. Oh, sorry, A, B, C, D, E, F. E, F, G, I don't seem to have G here.
G is that one.
Okay, there, is it a public meeting or?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure,
okay.
yes, sir. On Hampton Ancestry Development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should have made it, just renumbered, probably made it.
Okay. Okay, 10G is a public hearing, the CRA property.
Okay.
Disposition of 139 North Ridgewood Drive. Purpose of the public hearing is pursuant to section 163, 380 Florida statutes and other applicable law. Council will receive input on the Sebring Community Redevelopment Agency's proposed disposal of real property located at 139 North Ridgewood Drive, Sebring, Florida, for less than the market value. Mr. Lydell.
Good evening, David Lydell, Chair of the Sebring CRA. As council is aware, the Sebring CRA received the Nancessory property a year ago last November, and went through the process to demolish the existing building after it had been condemned for demolition. We have since gone out for a RFP process, request for proposals, and received back several. And we went through a committee selection period, and then we took it to our board for approval. The Short Pants Development is the selected and proposed developer for the site, and we are asking council to approve that property transaction this evening.
Okay. All right, public input, for our purpose of the public hearing is pursuant to section, et cetera, et cetera. Council will receive input on the Sebring Community Redevelopment. Anyone from the public like to speak on this?
I might as well, from Short Pants Development.
Okay.
Good evening.
Long pants.
But yeah. Philip Springer, Short Pants Development. I just wanted to add one thing. Disposition for less than the value. I just wanted to throw it out there, remind you that we are paying the into an escrow account the value of the land that we have to come up with, and it's worked out with the city attorney, Bob, for how long and what we have to do to release that. So we have to be successful with the building before it's released. So as of today, it comes out of my bank account what the real value of the property is. So just thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay, thank you.
What are your plans of getting started?
We plan to get started as soon as possible. Once we get past this, we're looking to have a closing on the land in January sometime. We've already got our financing ready to go, but it's, of course, everything sort of backs up on the actually having, it's hard to finance a property you don't own. So, so anyway, we would plan to be submitting for building permits in February. And then, you know, we don't have control over that side of the process. But yes, we plan to break ground as early as possible.
To early next year.
No, early early 2022. Yeah, early in the next so many months. And there's another reason why we're motivated to do that is we have no more than 2 years to break ground to get the runoff water does not have to be retained if we break ground within 2 years of demolition of the existing building. So we've got financial motivation there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have one pretty big question, I guess, and that's at the 62,500. From what I'm understanding with the contract here, if you were to walk away in 2 weeks from now, you could purchase that property at 62,500? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Personally, I think that's a little cheap. I know that the CRA just spent almost a couple $100,000 to have the former Nancessory demolished and getting that property up to the condition it's in now. I would feel a lot more comfortable, and I hope you succeed with the project, so don't get me wrong about this. But I would rather see that more in the neighborhood of at least what the CRA has invested in that property, which is close to $200,000. So if you do default, and we don't know what's going to happen, we've had a few previous people that came in trying to develop that property and other properties that, in fact, did not move forward with them. So I would rather see that number more like the $200,000 at least to recover what the CRA has in there, if you should default.
But that would make that property over $400,000 per acre, and there's no property in south of the downtown Orlando that would be worth $400,000 an acre.
Well, I probably beg to differ with you on that. This is the heart of our community.
Yeah.
And it's not just the value of the property, even if appraiser comes up and says it's worth 62.5. This is the heart of our little community here.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that you go through with all of this, but I also think that that's if it was put on the market, I think it would bring way more than the 62.5. That's just my personal feeling. I've been doing real estate around here for a while, and honestly, I wouldn't mind writing a check for 62.5 today, or more. But that being said, that's kind of
I
my.
got a question for David on that.
Yes, sir.
David, this was a negotiated amount? Is that
Correct.
CRA negotiated?
It's
Okay.
the assessed value.
Assessed by who?
County.
Property
Appraiser's
appraisal.
office.
Assessed but
appraiser's
not
office.
appraised.
Correct.
Which is really not a great assessment.
80%.
I would feel a lot more comfortable if there was a default, and I hope there's not, and I'm with you on this whole project, that it reverted back to the CRA. To me, that's the only way to do this.
If we did that, then he would not be able to get financing, and so that was not an option for us.
I don't understand that.
Lender's not gonna wanna risk millions of dollars on an operational covenant. That if he breaches that, the lender's, $5 million or whatever the number is, goes away because the collateral's now back in somebody else's name.
Okay. Are you comfortable with this?
I don't know how else.
You wrote the contract, right?
Yes, sir. I don't know how else you can, well, let me answer by giving you some of the operational covenants.
Okay.
So, and the answer is if they default on any of those, they lose the 62.5, and yes, that they can do that. But they're agreeing to commence, not later than 12 months after closing and complete within 18 months. They will own, maintain, and operate for 5 years after construction, submitting reports to the CRA. They can't assign the contract, they can't assign the property or sell out of their current ownership interest in the Short Pants LLC within the 5 years. They'll operate it for 30 months after closing and keep it open for 5 years thereafter, and they'll have certain operational hours of 9 to 5 every day but Sunday for the first 5 years after completion. So maybe they don't get that, maybe they don't get all of those things done, but that's what they're promising to do. And if they are able to do it, then they don't pay the 62.5. But yes, they could walk the day after closing and they would lose the 62.5 and
But
build
they would
anything on it.
they would own the property.
Yes, sir, and build anything on it they want, sell it to anybody for whatever price.
Mm-hmm. So I struggle with this, and I understand the legal ramifications, but I struggle with this because we've had, over the years, so many developers come before us with really fabulous plans and sell us on properties and these projects, and so many of them just never happened. And this one here is right in the downtown, and it's, there's a, there's a love for the community, that we just want to make sure that we're protected. And I'm not feeling that right now. The other thing that worries me is, does this include the parking issue?
Not yet.
Okay, so that's the next one. And you understand that I'm not gonna say yes to them taking that parking behind it. It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna vote for it, at least all of it.
So the ordinance that changed the zoning on it has a contingency of a development agreement that has to address parking, and that
Right,
has not yet
right,
been
okay.
Finalized.
So it was my understanding when we first talked about this, that the footprint of the new building is gonna be similar to the old building. Is that correct? In the old building, there was 25 or 30 feet behind the building that was vacant land. That should be used for parking, in addition to what's under the building, in my mind. I guess I'm segueing to the next meeting, and I'll apologize for that, but,
If I could, Mr. Stewart, there's also another carrot that's out there for them.
Okay.
In our contract, we have agreed to essentially rebate the property taxes for the first 5 years.
Mhm.
So the sooner he gets that project up and completed, the property taxes go up. And we're covering the first 5. So if he takes 2 years to develop it, well, it doesn't cost the CRA a whole lot of money in tax rebate, and he only gets 3 years of the expensive stuff.
Mhm.
If he gets in the first year done, then we're covering more of that. So the way that's going to work is they will pay their property taxes, and then that increased amount that would be coming to us, we are going to escrow essentially. And at the end of 5 years, if he's met all of the criteria that are in that contract, he's eligible to receive that money back, which could be as much as $500,000.
well, that's quite an incentive.
Right.
Right, okay. So I'm gonna ask you one more time. You comfortable with this? Because this legal jargon, most of us don't understand.
I think for what they're going to have to spend, I don't know that you can tie it up any better to get it back. And 62.5, I'm certainly no appraiser, and prices are going up, but you're a little bit limited on what can be built there. So I think this agreement works, understanding that they can take it for 62.5. Whether that number changes, I don't know that anybody's going to feel better if it flops that we got 100,000 rather than 62.5.
Right.
I think everybody wants it to work.
I agree, and
obviously
I want it to work, so don't
there
get me
is-
wrong, so.
There is a risk. As David said, we've tried to incentivize or put in incentives to help it work with the owner of the previous, or the building when it stood. There were plenty of incentives for that to work too.
Right. Okay.
And that didn't work, so.
Well, let me come back to the 62.5, because again, if in 2 weeks he defaults, he bought the property for 62.5, but he gets that 62.5 back if this project comes to completion.
Mhm.
So I feel way more comfortable if that number is more like the $200,000, which he'll get back. This is an $8 million project. This isn't just peanuts here. And to put up a $200,000 upfront money to assure us that we're not selling this property in 2 weeks, that he is going to go through with this, I don't think that's a huge amount of money for a project this size. So I would, and this is an assessed, not an appraised value at 62.5. We all know, you can check with your own house, your assessed value is nowhere near what you're going to sell it for next week. So this is not an appraisal. The appraisal is going to come back way higher than that 62.5. I'm pretty sure of that. So I would like to see that number more like 200,000 as a deposit on this. Then if something happens, at least the CRA gets their money back. So. And,
Can I say something about that?
yes, sir.
So actually, for us, after we thought about it for a little bit, we would have preferred to have just bought it for 62.5, because then we could have included it in our mortgage, and we could have spread that payment out. As it is, this is money that's coming out of our capital. We can't be reimbursed because it's not a mortgage expense. It's not an asset to the property. So this is $62,000 that is just going to be in limbo for 5 years or so. That's just out of our cash flow. We can't, it's not an asset. We can't borrow against. We can't. It's just out there. So it actually is kind of a hurdle for us, because if it was, I could actually just purchase it for 200, I could have made a decision and we could have included it in our financing and rolled it into our financing as opposed to actually just coming out of our pocket, because it doesn't count as any of our equity into the project.
Yeah. Well, I understand that, but I also understand that if you just purchase it, we can't have you, we can't hold you to all these different contingencies on developing it either, so.
There's something too, we have to remind ourselves at the CRA, you have to think a little bit differently about how you invest. I mean, if we spend $200,000 demolishing that property, it sounds like a lot, and I can understand where the viewpoint might come from, but we're going to get in return an $8 to $10 million project.
We hope to get in return.
The property taxes on that will go up to $100,000 a year. So our expense into that, it's worth it. I don't think that, and like Mr. Swain said, if the property doesn't happen and we get 200 versus 60, he still owns the property. It's still tied up, and that's still a problem for us.
Okay. Any other comments from the public?
Can I mention one more thing?
Yes, sir.
So, David, don't be offended, sir. Have you checked these guys out? And how deep has that gone?
I mean, we've reviewed their proposals and the information they've
Well,
submitted.
the proposal means nothing.
Well-
I'm talking about their past and their history. Have you made phone calls to people and spoken to people about previous jobs and or projects?
We simply followed the purchasing policies of the city. In the agreement that's going to be coming, I mean, they have contingencies. They have to show proof of funds and stuff like that before they can, move forward. So there's some other stuff that's in there to tie them to this project. But as far as their past goes, I can't speak to that.
I would have thought that would have been part of the RFP.
To investigate them,
Yeah, to make sure that they had the ability to do this.
I don't believe there's anything in the city's policy to dictate that.
David, did you say that they had to provide the proof of financing on this?
Yes.
The commitment letter?
Yes,
So when it comes time for the development agreement, that will happen.
yes.
Okay.
I think that's gonna, I mean, if they can secure the financing for a $9 to $10 million project.
Yeah, then,
I mean, that's.
Yeah,
gotta-
that says
that's
a
gotta
lot, yeah.
Proof it. I checked out the major partner, the Texas, what's the Texas guy's name? I mean, I went online and looked at him pretty deeply. He's done.
Wikipedia, or was it?
No,
Yeah.
this is actually straight Google, not
Okay,
Wikipedia.
straight Google.
Yeah.
Straight up Google.
But I mean, there was a lot of projects that he's been involved in, so.
Yeah, I read the resume and it was quite
Yep.
impressive as well for all partners.
It-
I told you not to be offended.
I'm not. I was going to say, it might also help if you knew that we also have 3 other projects that are funded and in for building permits right now besides this here in Highlands County.
But that does help.
Yeah, I think the total of those is just less than $40 million besides this project. So we own, if you know the par 3 golf course up on the
Yes.
Parkway, that's ours. We're in for permit for 78 apartments there, so it's a $16 million project. If you know down Highway 98, there's the business park there. We own all of the parcels along 98 there, and we've got 160,000 square feet of development going in there.
Okay,
Of industrial.
under short pants?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So let me just read the specifics of what David was mentioning about their proof of financing. They have to provide, prior to closing, a signed agreement with a commercial construction company agreeing to build the project for a fixed price, sufficient financing with an approved commercial lender for the construction of the project, and provisions to escrow sufficient additional funds so with the net loan proceeds, purchaser can fully pay for the construction of the project, including all utilities, parking facilities, and amenities, or other proof of available funds satisfactory to seller.
Is it prior to closing on the property?
Yes, sir.
So if they don't provide the proof of financing, then this transaction is dead.
The closing of the sale will be simultaneous with the closing on their construction financing.
So it's pretty, well, if it's contingent, I mean, if they're closing together, then you pretty much know that if they're getting a loan the deal's done, and that money, they're moving ahead. So really, the 62,000, they could probably still back out, but I don't think it'd be a very difficult thing to do. So this 62,000 is kind of a, I'm not saying a moot point, Charlie, but if they've got if they've got a commitment for an $8 million deal, or whatever the total is,
Right.
they're probably gonna move ahead with this, especially if they close on that, because their fees on that closing, the attorney fees alone are probably gonna be through the roof, so they're gonna have a chunk of, they've already got a bunch invested, but with the closing itself, they're gonna have a lot more invested in that side of it, so. I think that the dollar amount, if that's tied together, I feel more comfortable. It's kind of on the same thing with you, Charlie, that if they're gonna get the property for 62 next week and not do anything else.
Right.
But if they've gotta close on that construction loan, the same simultaneously with the closing on the property, there's gonna be a hefty commitment already, $1, so I don't think these guys are just gonna do that and then walk away from the
Yeah,
deal. so.
and they have to do that, is that what you're saying, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Swain?
Well, they don't have to, but the closing of the real estate sale is contingent upon that.
Oh,
So
okay.
if they don't close on the construction loan, we don't close on the real estate.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
And they can't waive that, no?
CRA could waive it, yes.
And so that if they don't have the construction loan, let's say they get turned down for that, then we don't have to close on the property. Is that the way
Correct.
I'm understanding that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you.
We meaning the CRA.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, any other further public comments? Any other questions or thoughts from council members? Okay, then the public hearing is adjourned. Now, we're gonna move to H, CRA property disposition, 139 North Ridgewood Drive. It sounds real familiar, huh? And I did finally find my sheet here, by the way. Okay, so this is CRA property disposition, 139 North Ridgewood Drive. The background, real quick, is the Sebring Community Redevelopment Agency was gifted the property located 139 North Ridgewood Drive that was previously home to the Nancessory Hotel. The CRA issued a RFP 210006 development of North Ridgewood Drive site and former Nancessory Hotel on February 9th, 2021, with responses due by 3 p.m. on March 12th, 2021. I'm going to turn it over to David from there.
David Liddell, Chair of the Sebring CRA. The CRA has approved the disposition contract that you have before you and is requesting that City Council approve it as well.
Okay, any comments from the public? This is a lot like the public hearing, but this is not the public hearing. Okay.
Can I ask a
Sir?
question?
Oh, yeah, come on up.
Is this gonna be, apartment things or is it a motel?
It's
Apartments.
Apartments.
Okay.
At least that's the plan.
Actually, it's apartments with a pool and like a tiki
Restaurant
bar,
bar.
a restaurant up top,
Right.
on the top, and parking underneath.
Right. And I believe those plans, you can, if you'd like to look at those plans, I believe there's probably some public records that we could get those, or the CRA can get them for you. So, okay. Comments or questions from council members? We have no staff recommendation, so I'll just ask for a motion.
Go ahead, Mark.
All right. I make a motion, we approve the disposition of the CRA-owned property at 139 North Ridgewood Drive to Short Pants Development LLC as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further public comment? Any further council members' comments or questions? Kathy, call for a vote, please.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Detman,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Lorenz.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, now we're gonna go to 10I.
I like this one
Proposed development, 126 West Center Street. Mr. Phil Springer.
More short pants.
Phil Springer, Short Pants Development again. I thought we were talking parking, so I was ready for that. Here, I'll hand out some, besides what he has there. These are just a little bit bigger version of what we have on the screen.
Personally, I like the view from the bedrooms.
Yeah.
That certainly looks like downtown Sebring to me. Do you see that? Looks like Dallas, Texas to me, but.
Yes, thank you.
Very nice though. Very nice.
So we wanted to bring this project in front of you today to get the process started, to get the zoning in a position where we can move forward with this. So hopefully thinking of this project might alleviate some of your concerns about us moving forward with the project just behind it, because this one is 3 times the size. So our proposal is to we've got what people refer to as the SunTrust Bank. We have it under contract to purchase it. We're doing all of this without any government assistance. We're not looking for anything except at the very end. We'd like to be rewarded for doing a whole lot of stuff with a tax abatement to help us recoup some of the risk we've taken. But otherwise, we've acquired that. It's right at 2.5 acres, and we plan to build a 96-unit apartment for rent community. It ties together with what you refer to as the Nancessowe property, because the Nancessowe is essentially 1-bedroom units, and this one would be 2 and some 3-bedroom, 12 or 24 3-bedroom units, and the rest are 2-bedroom units. So it gives us a variety of options and things for the community to choose from. We've been able to secure on the surface 142, or anyway, we've got 1.5 parking spaces per unit, which in today's world is pretty good. We also, why we're doing all these things, why we're trying to do all this development is we believe that you should be sustainable. We should do better things. So we want to build a better building, and sets an example of how to build a building in an urban environment, how to use less energy, how to reduce the dependence on cars, those sorts of things. What you can do in 2021, encourage what we call a 15-minute city. And so the energy systems and the insulation and the way we produce our heating and cooling will be as energy efficient as we possibly can. We're going to include in this budget, which the development budget for this project is almost, it's $30 million for this project. And part of that includes we're going to acquire a certain number of community cars, electric of course, that the residents will have access to. So that will further reduce, if you have a couple, you can use the local car and only get down to one car per couple. We're going to have a number of golf carts that we'll have access to just get around town and do the entertainment things that you want to do. Let's see. We also plan on having in the existing building an entire community amenities area. And one of the amenities we're going to include is a food cooperative with the all over the country. There's food cooperatives that are already set up where a bunch of farmers, one raises eggs, one raises strawberries and blueberries and corn. They bring all those together, and for a fixed fee, you pay a fixed weekly fee, and you just get a random box of food. The problem with that, why it didn't work for us when we were in Palm Beach, is because you had to go pick it up. You know, you had to go see Sally at between 4:30 and 5:30 on Tuesday. Well, we're going to have a space in here where we'll gather those things and have it available. So all you have to do is just come by, pick up your mail, pick up your box of food, and go on. And anyway, we've got a lot of things like that that we're trying to incorporate into both of these buildings that will really encourage people to spend a lot more time here in downtown and not necessarily seasonal, you know, not just for the 4 months of winter. So anyway, that's kind of the summary. You guys have questions about what we're trying to do or what we're asking for?
You mentioned golf carts. Tom, what are golf carts, are they, you as the chief's not here, I guess commander's here. Are they allowed to be on the road downtown, or?
Not unless they're licensed. They have to have regular blinkers, brake lights, tail lights.
But that can happen, right?
Street legal, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they have to be street legal.
You can make them street legal.
Okay.
I forgot to mention our current plan. We don't have a restaurant vendor selected yet, and we haven't settled on a concept yet. That'll depend on who steps up for the space. But the ground floor of the bank is really a spectacular space. So we're looking at either dividing it into two concept restaurant space where we'd have more your normal, sit-down dining with a bar, that sort of thing, and then maybe a fast casual, and then extending a front patio out so that people can enjoy the view of the circle and things. And if we don't come up with the right relationship there, we're looking at the possibility of doing a food court idea or food market similar to what they have if you've been to Del Rey, the marketplace, or in Armature Works up in Tampa. Anyway, there's a variety of, they're very, very important, which actually is pretty neat because it gives small restaurant, people want to be in the restaurant industry gets to take a smaller risk with their concept. And so anyway, so one of those two is what we do on the ground floor.
And that would be open to the public?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Great ideas.
Wow.
Philip, correct?
Yes.
Market rate. Market rates here are a lot different. They are in Delray Beach, a lot different than Lake Worth, Palm Beach, Boynton Beach, Boca Raton. Help us out. Where are you? Is there a range?
Well, right now I live in the Majestic Cove, and so we would be very competitive with what you can lease or acquire a residence there.
Mm-hmm.
And really,
and I'm not even sure what that range is now because things have moved quite a bit.
Yeah,
Can you
just
give
the
me
last
low
few
and
months.
high? Can you kind of give me a low and high fuzzy numbers?
Yeah, somewhere in the $1,600 to low $2,000 for like a three bedroom unit. So yes, and I know that because when we're paying less than half of what we were paying when we lived in Palm Beach. So, permanent for rent communities is not what it used to be when we were growing up. there's a whole generation of people both on the 50 years and older who don't want to own a place but would like to know they have a great place they can have as their own, and they're going to be there long term, but they don't have to buy anything. And so that's kind of a focus of ours, is that permanent resident, or then on the younger side, most of our kids aren't really looking to acquire a house long term because they saw us cutting the grass and trimming bushes and doing stupid stuff that they don't want anything to do with. So those are kind of the main focus of who would be coming here. And our thoughts are the majority of the people would be people that would be excited to be in part of an urban community. So some would come from people who are already here, but the majority of people are going to come here because they're excited about what's going on in Sebring, which means new money, new sales taxes, revenues, that sort of thing.
Can you share with us any similar projects that you have completed that are available now?
Well, I would like to say I could think of some, but my partner and I, we spent the last 20 years changing senior living. So when we first started in senior living, there's the word wagon wheel. So I'm sure that our parents and grandparents all went to a nursing home at some point in time that was in a wagon wheel, which is where there's a nursing center right in the middle, and there's a bunch of wings that feed into it. It was just an awful way to live. And we feel like we were a primary mover in changing the attitude such that my mother, who's now 90 this year, she couldn't wait to get into Friendship Village and start her life in her retirement community. And we feel like we had a lot to do with that. So I could give you a list of 50 facilities that we've done like that, as the architects and
any apartment complexes like this, so I can do a road trip?
Not really. We would have to rely on like JMJ's resume or that sort of thing as far as apartments that we've done.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, there's believe it or not, even though the way the fuel and stuff is, there's a lot of people that are commuting to from areas like this to Tampa to work, to Orlando, different places. But when they're off on the weekends, they want to be in a low-key area. And that went on years ago in California.
Yeah, and vice versa.
I had a friend that moved from California years ago, and he drove 2 hours to work every day, one way and back, just so he could make, he made good money in the city, but he wanted to live in a low-keyed area. So I think we're kind of seeing that happen in Florida now.
Well, just as far as our own companies, we're ramping up for all that we have going here. So, I've relocated here with my family. My CFO, he's relocating here in January. Our head architect, who was my college roommate in graduate school, he's relocating here from Buffalo. So I've got probably 10 families that are in that well into the six-figure income that's relocating here, and they don't want to live. None of us really grew up on that 10-acre piece of property out in Lake Placid, that kind of thing. We want to be in a place where there's a restaurant around the corner and we can go walking and things like that. So
I've got a few comments, and I'm sure you're not going to appreciate these, but I'm going to make them. This is a big project, and I'm going to even call it a somewhat generic building. It's right in the center of our town. And this is not even within our current codes. This is going to go up to 90 feet. That's huge. This thing is going to be almost as dominant, maybe more so than the fountainhead. And I want everybody to think about this really hard, because this is in the center. This is the circle. This is literally 150 feet off the circle. And we're going to have, excuse me, but what I consider to be a big, ugly concrete building right there. I think it's going to kill what we know as our Sebring, our nice little town. You know, I have nothing against building and having people come downtown, but to put up a 90-foot building to where you can see it from the circle, and it's going to be dominant. This is at the SunTrust site. This is between the circle and the library area that we're trying to renovate right now. And I mean, take a look at the pictures. This is not an aesthetic building. This is a concrete building. It's just, I mean, you see them all over the place. You see them everywhere. There's not much aesthetics to it. As far as the people goes, that sounds great. As far as the project, the money, all that sounds good. But I would like to see, number one, to keep it under the 50-foot level that we have now. And I would prefer to see it somewhere other than in a dominant area of downtown. Get on the peripheral of that downtown, get over by the lake where we have a few high rises. I call them high rises. Well, the 10-story one I guess is, but the Majestic is not even a high rise really, it's a low rise. But trying to keep the character of our city here, this is gonna kill it. We've already come back and said a 60-foot building with the other project you're doing, and now you're coming back and asking for a 90-foot building, which is 50% higher than the original building that you've come up with. I don't know, 6 months from now, somebody's going to come in and ask for a 150-foot building. And this is going to change the whole character of our community. And not just by a little bit. This is big. This is huge. And I'm going to just tell you, I've talked to some people, some friends, some neighbors of mine about having a 90-foot building in downtown Sebring, and not one of them has been for it. Every single one of them is saying, no, we don't want high rises in the downtown, right on the circle or right off the circle as this would be. So I would like to encourage you to find a different place or downsize to something that's more like 40 or 50 feet tall and not 90 feet tall. That's huge. That's literally huge. You can sit on the top floor of this and see everything that's going on down at the circle, but the circle can also look up and see you. And it will cast a shadow, by the way. The building that high will cast a shadow. So that's, I'm going to just tell you the way it is, the way you're presenting it, I cannot be for it at all.
That was part of why we adjusted it onto the site in the way that we did, was the shadow, so we did not project a shadow onto the residences on the two sides around there, and so that we maintained the we closed in Wall Street and commerce and commercial always throw me off. So yeah, that's one of the appeals of the site. Plus, there are two other buildings that are as tall or taller than this downtown. The senior living facility is taller than this.
Yeah, but it's again, it's a distance from the circle.
It's only a few doors down.
Yeah.
And it is taller than this. And another thing is, this was these were produced out of a program called Revit, which is just the reflection of the building. It hasn't been, the exterior hasn't been prettied up, I guess is what I'm saying. There might be tile, I mean, we might be able to do some things to it yet.
This is just kind of a concept of what you want to do.
Right.
It's not in concrete.
Yeah.
Well, I was born here, and I'm excited to see stuff like this happen. I don't think we're going to lose the quaintness of our city, but our city needs to grow. It absolutely needs to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to say I'm for it.
I appreciate that, and I keep thinking about, the number of people that'll be able to walk to the
Downtown.
distillery and and actually make those successful for the long term.
And I think you'll have a lot of people that come from other areas, that's how they grew up, is walking downstairs and going to a restaurant or going to a local pub or something like that. Retirees. I think that, and maybe that's what you're shooting for, I don't know, but I think, I was born here, I'm used to the little city stuff, but there's a lot of people that have lived downtown all their life and walked to work, whatever, and when they retire, they still want, I think they still want to be able to do that, but they want a lower key. That's my opinion.
Yes, sir.
That and a
Any
dollar
other
and a
thoughts
quarter
or
to get you a
comments?
cup of coffee.
It's ambitious. I mean, I'll say that. I like the idea of the armature works. They're hugely popular with people my age group. I mean, they're popping up everywhere. Where you have more like a community kitchen type scenario, there would be, you can go in one place and have 8 different restaurants, and they're just popping up everywhere. I grew up here just like Leonard, so I mean, I don't remember, I wasn't around for,
You keep reminding us about age.
I think if we don't try and work with this gentleman, somebody else is gonna nab him up. And I think he's investing a lot of money in this community. I don't know why you picked Sebring. I'm kinda curious why, but I
Friendly
like what
community.
you're telling us so far.
Well, we did a lot of research before we came here, and we wanted to make an impact where we go. So
You definitely will.
You will make an impact if that thing gets built. I think it's a little ambitious, but we'll see what you can come up with.
I would like to encourage council members to, before you just jump in and say yes on this thing, to talk to some of the people around Sebring. We represent a community of 10,000 people within the city, and even beyond that, 100,000 people here. I haven't found one that said that they want, literally, I haven't found one that said that they would like a high-rise in downtown Sebring, other than what we have now. And you came here, and excuse me, but this is one of the things that I've heard a lot of people say. You come here and then you want to change everything. And I don't really get that altogether. Now, I believe in growth, and I believe in controlled growth, but I don't want to just see us turn into another Orlando or Kissimmee or anything like that. We've got a nice community here. A lot of people enjoy it here. There's a lot of positive things with it. But yes, we do want some growth. But I would just ask you gentlemen, and remember that, there's a lot of people out here that like our small community, and yeah, we do need to grow it. And so I don't want to give the wrong impression that I'm against growth. But putting high rises in the middle of downtown Sebring, I can't go for. So I would just ask you to talk to some people. I would love to see this in the newspaper and see how many people come to our next council meeting and express their opinion. That's what I would like to see. And if I'm wrong, hey, I'll sit here and I'll say, hey, I'll go with it, if that's what everybody else wants. But by the same token, I'd like to hear what the people of our community really have to say about this. They don't know about this plan. I said this to a couple of my friends at lunch the other day. They went, what?
Well, I didn't know about it till 4 days ago when I got my packet.
Exactly.
But the reality is, what he's asking for is for us to instruct the staff to coordinate and schedule public hearings.
Gauging interest
So
to see
that's
if
what
he should
that's
even
what that's
start
what you're
what it's
talking
all
about.
Yes.
So I understand your perspective completely, but I definitely want this town. The downtown needs help. We need stuff We need more people downtown.
You just,
And I love the idea of having a community where you could go and walk to, and to the grocery store and to the, all those places. And this seems like another avenue for that for me. So I am for it. I'm for most definitely having a public hearing and pursuing, a little more detail.
Yes.
You mentioned something about Wall Street. Would you incorporate that as part of your building and?
No.
No, he can't
No.
close.
Those things,
No,
because
he
the
can't.
buildings that
Yeah,
you
could you
live
come
on,
up and tell us who you are, ma'am? Could you come up and tell us who you are and speak in the microphone so we
Everybody
can
can
hear
hear
you?
you better.
The word Wall Street, I'm going, no. Nora Flores, I own one of the buildings here on the Circle. And the question I asked is, he mentioned the word Wall Street, and I'm looking at the drawings, and I don't know how he related to that, if that was gonna be part of his vision. And I know that we need the back of those for deliveries and stuff with all the building, and it belongs. Just wanted to make sure, because I didn't see anything.
No, he can't close the city street.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Without permission.
Well,
Well, you guys are going.
well, I wouldn't give him permission to close the city street.
We don't want to, but we moved the apartments as, to follow that outside track to, like I said, to keep it up on that side and keep the character of try to extend the commercial character as more of the spokes of the hub go away, or, run away from the circle.
Well, as far as the height of it, is that something that you would consider? Is this an all or nothing type project?
Well, the 96 units was important. We wanted to be around 100, and that puts us a total of 150 front doors in that area, which gives us enough volume to recruit, to do a marketing program that goes beyond a billboard on 27, to recruit people from Tampa and Fort Lauderdale to come look at Sebring. And that's what drove, it's actually 6 floors of apartments. So 10 foot a floor, that's 60 feet plus 12 feet for the ground floor. So the height can come down. I put it up there just in case we had more flex in the height of the ceilings as we go. But it's really just 6 floors of apartments over floor parking.
That would be a workshop, good workshop question for the public, I think.
Okay. All right, any other comments or questions?
I don't think, are we supposed to make some kind of decree or, no, we are?
Council action.
Well, I support the concept, no question about that. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity to start bringing some people to downtown and infusing some excitement and some opportunities for people to enjoy themselves in downtown Sebring. I think maybe a little modification to the size of the building, height-wise, might be very wise as far as when it gets to public hearings and things like that. But we have plenty of time to talk about this. I think all you're asking for tonight is, do we like the concept? And I do.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in front of us.
Appreciate it.
All right, I have no business from the audience, city's attorney's business.
Don't think I have anything further.
Mr. Rowe filled out 2 forms.
Oh.
I don't know if he's coming, he filled out 2 rows to come. He filled out 2 forms. Mr. Rowe, were you gonna come before council?
What?
You filled out 2 forms?
Yeah, I got one. I didn't know you could do it tonight.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Is that for tonight, sir, or a future meeting?
Anytime you want to look at it. One of it's is about Sparrow Road. He decimated that side of the,
Sparrow
Where
Road
is
is in
there?
the county, but anyway, there's a bunch of stuff here, I think we probably maybe should look at it, and then,
Be in touch.
Scott and I get back in touch with him to kind of cipher it and
Okay.
find out
All
exactly what it is he would like, and then we can put it on agenda.
Just like she had said, the one location you have on Sparrow
It's-
Road is county,
it
so
sounds like it's county,
she
but-
would probably tell you when the county commission meets, and then you could take that to the county commission, which I think would be
But I'll look over
the
with
correct
Mr. Nate.
venue.
I'll look
Or
over
you-
with
you
Mr.
can-
Nate Licken.
You can forward it to them, I would imagine. I don't
Well, we'll probably give that to you, but I'll talk over with Mr. Nate Lick, and we'll make sure it's nothing that we need to deal with, and then we'll
Do you have
we'll
his phone
correspond
number?
with
You
you.
guys are aware of it,
I
right?
have his email.
Okay, you have the email
know. Aware
address?
of, how that's been, it's in between, the entrance to the mall in the north
Sure.
and 27, and it just went.
Yeah.
Right, that's the county's jurisdiction, that's not in the city
If
limits,
that's all
right?
what this is, that's gonna be in the county that we're not gonna be able to address, so.
So,
that's county
Yes,
commissioners.
County commission meeting.
commissioners,
All right,
yeah.
you see if you can get it, and I'll send something to them. The other issue was the, sidewalk,
Well, let us look
All
at
right.
it
Yeah.
and get back to you, okay?
Let them digest that,
Yeah.
and then we'll get back to you.
Okay, city administrator's business.
Agenda item 13A, looking for guidance on potential disposition of a couple of city-owned properties over here on Poinsettia, 418 and 434. If you'll recall, those used to have buildings back on them a long time ago, like an apartment building, I think, and a residential unit, and they were condemned for demolition. CRA did pay for that, to the tune of just under $10,000 for that demolition. We've had some recent inquiry about both of those properties. One of the inquiries came from the adjacent neighbor, to the north, if you will, and then I've had another inquiry recently about it. We did try to market these properties at one point, if you all will recall, for development, and that never worked out. It's a different world right now. But it is a
Yes.
different world right now.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking for some type of guidance, whether or not you wanna do a disposition on these two properties and see who makes some offers. Whether you wanna put, some,
These are adjoining
stipulations or-
lots, correct?
I'm sorry?
They are adjoining lots.
Yeah, they are adjoining lots.
Yeah.
And
They're zoned R3.
Yeah, and I think what Mark, well, I don't wanna read his mind, but yeah, these are different times. I think we might wanna go back out there and see if anyone has an
Well,
interest. We can
I
put up a
suspect we've got-
six-story, building in there.
Yeah, I suspect we have 15 or 20 lots like this in
Yep.
town.
That's okay.
And we have other lots, that's
Yeah,
correct.
So it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a list of all of them,
Yes,
and let's talk about it.
yep.
Okay.
I agree.
All right,
Yep.
that's what we'll do.
Especially if they wanna build single-family homes in the downtown. And
Yeah.
To me, that would be a
Yeah,
really
and-
wonderful thing.
And differentiate the ones that are buildable and those that might not be buildable under our.
Well, most of them that there was a building on, they're buildable.
You guys could ask Phil to put a 4-story on this one.
Yeah, especially these two adjoining lots. They're actually very nice lots.
16 units.
Thank you
6
for that.
stories.
So I'm hearing the consensus of council is for us to get a list of all vacant city properties and then bring that list back to council for y'all to look at it as a whole.
I
Is
like
that
that. I like that.
That
Yeah,
sounds
that would
good.
be good.
Yeah.
Put them all on
I'm
Yep.
thinking, I'm sure. I'm
It's a good
hearing
idea.
And, and then also differentiate if they're buildable or not, and maybe even the zoning on them, if they're not all R3.
Right.
So any other information that might be pertinent.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Nasley?
No, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to make a quick comment for Mr. Barber. We had discussed, before you were here, we had discussed your item, and actually it was voted on. And we didn't know that you were gonna come late, and I wish that you had been here for it, but I just wanted, sir?
I was told 6 o'clock was the time.
Oh, okay, it's 5:30, but.
Didn't you email?
Yeah. But it has been voted on, so I just wanted to call that to your attention. So. All right, city clerk's business.
Council needs to approve paying the bill, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, have motion and a second. Any comments from the public? Comments from council members? Kathy, call the roll, please.
Bishop.
Yes.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Moran.
Yes. Okay, that being said, we'll adjourn our meeting.
Just one thing, to
Oh.
remind everybody, city
Okay.
offices will be closed, Thursday and Friday of this week.
Okay.
So, just making that public.
Okay, and one last additional thing, and that is, I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas.
Amen.
Oh,
And we won't see them again until the new year.
Yeah, okay, we have, another possible discussion about next Thursday, I believe it is.
The state and the county have both closed their offices Thursday. DeSantis came out and said that they're closing state offices Thursday and Friday. The county went ahead and scheduled closing next Thursday also.
So that's the 30th?
It'd be the 30th, yes.
Yeah.
30th, so I didn't know if we wanted to, if the council wanted to take action to match what the county did and what the state has done.
Might as well.
Are you talking about?
That would be an additional city holiday.
Additional
That's
Yeah.
essentially what they did was.
Okay, so
Governor DeSantis came out and declared it last week, I believe.
is he up for re-election or is he just being?
He
running
is
for president.
22.
He's running for president, that's right.
Who's that?
22 and 24
He's
for
gonna
president,
start giving away free phones shortly.
Here you go.
Okay.
But you're not up for re-election next
So
year,
what's the
Mark,
question?
so.
What do we should?
Do we want to close like the state and the
I'm
county?
passing it down.
So we're already closed.
We'll close on Friday, the 31st, in observance of New Year's Day.
We voted to not allow you
Yeah, I
to
have
do
not
it.
adjourned it yet, we're still discussing.
Can we finish this one right here before, so that we just have a, since
Yeah.
we started on this one? and then we can-
Yeah, yeah. Excuse me, Mr. Barber, just a
Just
second,
a
let us
second.
finish the
You stay
discussion
right
on
there.
this, and then you
So
can
what you're
stay
requesting
right
is
there.
to add an additional holiday in city services?
Yeah, and that's just this
And-
one time
I was
around,
gonna say,
if
you're
you
talking about
guys.
this year only.
This year only.
Oh, it's a one-time shot.
Yeah, one-time shot, and just,
Well, unless he gets elected.
the administrator's asking us to, or excuse me,
Closed December 23rd. and
whether or not we want to
30th.
consider that. So what's council's feelings on that?
First, to observance of New Year's Day,
So- So they're,
Thursday,
right
Friday,
now, they're
Saturday.
closed December 24th, right?
24th and 25th.
And, but the 30th, you're already closed. So this is 2 additional days.
No, we're
No,
closed in
it's
observance for Christmas, we're closed December 23rd and,
24th and 20.
no,
23rd and
25th is a
24th.
Saturday. We're closed right now, the
23rd,
23rd and the 24th.
Okay, so that's already done.
So you're
you're
adding
talking about,
one
you're talking
on
about the
to-
30th
So now,
only.
there,
Right.
and then we're closed December 31st in observance of New Year's Day, which is next Friday.
Right.
So what they've added is that
The
Thursday
30th.
for the 30th.
And the county's done that too?
Yes.
The county voted on it today
Okay.
to close on the 30th. So,
Does that throw a wrench into anything as far as the department heads are concerned and overtime and staffing and, I mean, this is a last minute thing.
yeah, I mean,
Problem with that, Commander?
Chief? Bobby?
Chief Porter? Well, you don't wanna go to work anyhow, right? I mean, if you could have another
I
day
know.
off, right?
You'll pay for it on
It's another
Monday.
paid day off.
You'll pay for it on Monday, but, I mean, that's up to y'all, we just need to get
Well,
something out.
I mean, I hate to say this, but how much is it gonna cost us?
Yeah,
That's it.
that's kinda why I brought that up.
Yeah, and there's overtime involved in it.
Yeah, because then your people
So
are
do
up
we
there
have that
working
number?
time and a half. No, I don't. You probably couldn't.
You know, we declare our holidays knowing full well
Oh,
what they are.
we just negotiated them with,
Take
yeah.
it with your unions and everybody.
Yeah.
Penny,
So I did a quick calculation.
come on up so you can hear, we can hear you. Mr. Barboard, yeah, let her have the podium for just a second. Yeah. Thank you.
I did a very quick calculation, just looking at police and fire and the overtime that would be required, because it would be a paid holiday, and due to our bargaining contracts, holidays are paid at time and a half, and it's about $7,500 for police and fire in pay. This was kind of a last minute topic that came up late this afternoon, so I have not made any other calculations for our solid waste personnel. And I don't think that anyone else would be required from any other department to work overtime. Do you?
It's just, we're gonna have to have enough, we have to have standby, of course, we have to provide services, emergency.
So the possibility is it would be $7,500 or possibly north of that. Right. You know,
Yes, sir.
That's a knee-jerk reaction situation, and once again, you know, we're in tough times. We weren't able to give our employees the cost of living index as it stands right now, and, you know, 5.9% with the Social Security. I just don't think we should take that knee-jerk reaction. And I'm an employee, city councilman, you guys know that, for the police and fire, and I'm your liaison. But I don't think we should jump at something like that just because the county did or because the governor did personally, but that's just me.
Yeah. That being said, and I'm gonna just say, police and fire are still gonna be working. They're
Well,
just
sure
gonna
they
get,
are. Well, sure.
being paid more. So it's not like they're really getting the days.
Well, you take the $7,500 plus everybody else, we're talking about a big chunk of change.
Yeah, at least
You could paint that
$10,000.
water tower then.
So, yeah, we could, yeah, so I'm not for this either.
Okay, so consensus, no?
Sorry,
So
you
I
guys are
think
gonna
the
have to come to
consensus
work on
is
the
probably
30th.
no.
You included, Scott.
I'm on annual leave that day.
You're on annual leave, so
Yeah,
you have to be
People
here.
have adjusted their vacations to.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
I just don't think it's appropriate.
Okay, Mr. Barber, we're gonna hear from you for just a minute if you'd like to come up and.
So, I got the message here that Scott had left me saying the meeting had started at 6 p.m. I apologize, I was here 10 before and it says
I
right here-
apologize. That's all on me. I left him a.
So, I mean, I'm just proposing to clean the easement that's at Eastview and Lakeview. It's directly down where I'm building a new house in the bottom. I've talked to the residents all up Eastview. They're all for it. I mean, volunteer my service. I'm a contractor. I'm licensed, insured. I got workers' comp insurance, and I mean, we already had started to proceed through, and we Public Works Department, Toby contacted me, said we're doing him a favor. There's broken dock material. I mean, it's just a bunch of debris that's still been there since Hurricane Irma. I mean, I'm just trying to propose to clean that. I'll, you know, provide maintenance for the easement. It's 50 feet wide. That's from, you know, right down to Eastview. So, I don't know what I mean, I talked to Fish and Wildlife. We're allowed to go 25 feet, which is 50% of the width of the easement. We can blast straight through there and keep it clean. People can walk up. There's no way to drive up to it. It's just for walking access, you know.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think probably most of the council members do too. I do wish you had been here, and I apologize to you for the miscommunication there. I think one of the biggest things, if I could just parrot a little bit of what the council members were concerned with, it's not just this one place, but it's multiple places around the lake, and the other people that might come up and ask for that, it would be hard for us to say no, and they might
Well,
not be nearly as qualified as you are.
I mean, other easements that are like that, you have Bayview Drive where you guys, you know, cities put a water fountain right there and there's a bench right out front of there.
Yeah.
That's, you have Vicky Drive, which is tenants all that live up in there. They can enjoy the lake that comes right off of Vicky Drive. Sandra has the same access, that people that live up on Sandra can do the same thing. I mean,
Right.
I don't see where there's a problem with it, really.
The lady that owns that property is.
Dorothy on the side, yeah.
Yeah, she's not for it at all, and, you know, it's encroaching on her. And at one time, all that was clean, and her husband got sick.
Yeah, I understand.
And he recently died, and now her son's gonna start cleaning it up. So it was a 4 to 5 vote no.
Okay. Alrighty.
We apologize, we wish you'd have been here.
We
Yeah,
made
I
it
mean-
6 for lots of years, so. that's
I mean,
probably
I've
why.
lived at 3920 for 16 years, and that easement has looked like that since I've lived there.
Yeah.
Yeah.